Shout out to Thomas O'Brien on Patreon for 9 months of support. Get weekly goods, tutorial files, mockups, templates, items from my store, and more, as well as supporting the free tutorials on this channel. Check out my Patreon in the description below. What's up guys, Quezzy or Noah here, bringing you guys another video. Today I'm going to be going over Photoshop 2021 and some of my favorite features that have been added. Before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this and tutorials. I'm going to be doing weekly videos for the first 3 months of 2021 at least, hopefully longer. Might as well subscribe, you can always unsubscribe later, but let's get into it. Now the first thing I'm going to be covering is the neural filters. Now if you add an image, double click to unlock it, click OK, and you go up to Filter, Neural Filters. There's a few new things you can do in Photoshop. I tweeted one of the funny ones I created using these, but there's a lot of practical things to do, like the skin smoothing effect. It's pretty standard, smooth your skin. It detects your face here, and you can up the smoothness or the blur. And once this blue circle finishes spinning, then you'll be able to add these, or it will update the image with your adjustments. You can also output them to a new layer, a smart filter, duplicate layer mask, duplicate layer, or the current layer. So if we do this and click OK on a new layer, it will output the changes to a new layer. As you can see here, we get this creepy mask. Let's go back to the neural filters though, and there's a few other things. So you have the style transfer, which kind of gives you all these different styles you can add to the image to adjust them. These are kind of like Snapchat or Instagram filters, like the earlier ones that were just kind of wacky. I don't have a real practical use for these, so I haven't experimented too much with them, but you have a bunch of settings down here that you can further use to adjust these. But if we go to the fun ones, which is right down here, the beta filters, we have the smart portrait. Now I actually use this one and jack the happiness all the way up, and that's what my tweet was. So there's a couple funny ones, like if you add any of these happiness, surprise, or anger and jack them all the way up, the face distortion is kind of comical. But you can use these slightly to get real results. So if I wanted to jack my facial image up a little bit, I could do that pretty effectively. Now I still have that smoothing filter on, so I'd probably have to hide that, but this should look pretty good. You can see it made adjustments, but let me go and hide that smooth skin filter, and you can see it de-aged me a little bit. Added some grays and stuff. It actually looks pretty good, to be honest. Obviously there's some things you'd have to clip out, like the lighting and whatnot, but overall it's not bad. Let's go back and let me finish off the neural filters. There's some more options in the smart portrait. You also have the makeup transfer, which will transfer makeup from one image to another image, which is pretty interesting. Haven't messed with that. The depth aware haze is pretty cool. You can add haze. This is good for like mountainous pictures. You can see you can adjust the warmth, brightness, and the amount of haze. So I can make it look like I'm on Mars here, which is pretty cool. You also have a colorize, which will turn black and white images colored. Super zoom, which supposedly zooms in without losing resolution. I haven't tried that one. And this JPEG artifacts, which removes artifacts from JPEG compression. There's also a bunch of these other ones that just allow you to say I'm interested in, so I think these are still in production and aren't available to us yet. But this face to character one, it looks pretty cool. Now the next one we have is the sky replacement. So if you add an image with a sky and go to Edit, Sky Replacement, it will automatically crop out your sky for you. Just as easy as that. You can make a few adjustments. First of all, you can choose the sky you use. There's some presets of blue sky, spectacular, and sunsets. I'm using this spectacular sunset right now, and I'm actually going to come in and flip it, which is pretty cool, so you can match up the lighting to the appropriate direction. You can adjust the shift edge, which basically determines where it blends in at. So if I go to the left, it blends in more with the sky. If I go to the right, it blends in more with my subject or the foreground. The fade edge adjusts the edge of the crop. You also have brightness options, so we could jack it up if it's during the day, or make it darker if it's closer to night. You can adjust the temperature and the scale. Flip it like I did earlier. You can switch the lighting mode to either multiply or screen. I think screen would look better for a more daytime. Multiply kind of looks better if it's night or sunset. And you can make some lighting adjustments there to make the foreground a little brighter or darker. And then the last thing you have is the color adjustment. So if you want the oranges more throughout the foreground, you could jack this up a little bit and get that. So something like that looks pretty good to me. You can output it to a new layer or a duplicate layer. I'm going to do a new layer. Click OK, and actually you get a group with all those adjustments, so you can continue to make the adjustments without going back to the sky option. So you could actually hide the sky, adjust the lighting, or adjust the foreground color. So it's all pretty easy to make adjustments. But you can see the vast difference between this. This is clearly during the day, and this does feel like a sunset, which is pretty cool, and that was very easy. The next thing we have is my favorite thing. I do a lot of patterns, so this is really handy, but I created an 800 by 800 document here, and I want to make this into a pattern. So I can go to View and Pattern Preview, click OK, and it'll actually duplicate our canvas multiple times to show us what a pattern would look like. And we can come in here and make adjustments to be sure that this is seamless. And if you drag stuff off the original canvas, like I'm doing here, this green one is now off the canvas, it still keeps those elements off the canvas in the pattern, so you can get appropriate positioning how you want. So maybe I drag this down. Let's take this guy and drag him to the left more and grab the circle. Yeah, we'll just put it there, whatever. Maybe adjust this a little bit and zoom out, and you can see we got a perfectly seamless pattern, which is really nice. If you were doing more complex shapes, you could line them up better. This is pretty simple, but then you can go to your Edit, Define Pattern, click OK, and then down in your patterns, you will have that seamless pattern. Just like that. Real easy. And this is going to come in handy if you're trying to make those seamless patterns quickly, and it doesn't take too much work. You just have to line them up basically, and then you edit to find your pattern. The next thing we have is the Live Shape tool. So if we go to our rectangle tool and go to polygon, you might have a triangle option here. I've seen the triangle tool, but I don't have it personally. But if I grab the polygon, make my sides 3, and I create this triangle, you can also double click to create one and make it symmetric or adjust some of those settings. But if I create this triangle, I can like round the edges. Maybe I don't want a triangle, I want a hexagon, make that 6 sides. You can see you can make adjustments, adjust the size, and rotate it. And then in previous Photoshops, you'd lock that in. And if you tried to come back to make changes, it would be like this. Like this is where the anchor points were, and you couldn't adjust the size appropriately. But if you have your shape tool still selected, you can actually come in and these anchor points will still be here. So you can adjust the size correctly. There's no issues with that. You can adjust all the settings you normally can. You can even come in and adjust the sides once more, which is really handy. Personally, I love this update. It makes the Live tool a lot better. And this leads me into our last thing, which is the history option. So I made a couple of changes there, but maybe I want to go back to my original hexagon. You can go to Window and History and actually go back to that setting. So there's my hexagon that's rounded. I could go back to the triangle. I can go to anywhere in that document where I made a change. And you can even create a new document out of it. If I come down here and click this button, it will duplicate that whole document. And now I have 2 documents with those shapes. Now I don't want this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it and not save it. But let's say I go back to my hexagon and I want to keep this as an option. I can go down here to the snapshot, or the snapshot, not Snapchat, and that will save that as an option. So I can go back to my triangle, but if I ever want to revisit that hexagon, I can come into the history and click the snapshot and it will be there. Now the rest of the history will clear after 30 days. That's why you might want to save as a snapshot, but you can create a whole design, maybe add some snapshots and send it over to your client or whatever, fellow designer, and they can check out the different versions of the file you created. Instead of creating like 7 different PSDs or whatever, this is another option, which I think is pretty cool, and I think this will definitely be very popular. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe for more videos. I'm going to be trying to do weekly videos for 2021, at least the first 3 months. That's the goal. Follow me on Twitter @Quezzy, follow my Instagram, that's Quezzy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.